Alright, so we have some big Pokemon Sword and Shield news to talk about today because the Pokemon Company has released an app that puts Dynamax Pokemon inside of your photos. So yes, it's effectively a Kaiju Pokemon app. Now this is really cool on its own, but a side effect of it is that as people are using this app, new Pokemon in the Galar Regional Dex are being discovered. So we can see some examples down here, and also we finally get to see what Dynamax Wailord looks like. So the memes are commencing, but we're also getting some other Pokemon. Now Gardevoir has been confirmed for a long time, but I've still seen people that are like, wait, Flygon's in the game? Wait, Gardevoir's in the game? That's really cool. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be going over some of the most popular and most important Pokemon that have already been confirmed from the Galar Regional Dex. Also, if we keep on scrolling down, we get to see what Wailord looks like inside the games. Dynamax Wailord pretty much taking up the entire stadium. It was just a matter of time because we knew Wailmer was in, but man, that is insane. That also brings us to some of the new Pokemon reveals from this. As people take pictures, they also receive in-game screenshots of Pokemon. So we have Pokemon like Ribombee, but I think more importantly, we have Aegislash and Sableye. Aegislash looking good, Sableye looking good. These games are just absolutely fantastic. I still can't understand those Bring Back National Dex idiots, those anti-Game Freak people that are just like, oh man, it just looks like a GameCube game. This is barely an upgraded 3DS game. Stop lying, cut the nonsense. That looks incredible. Pokemon Sword and Shield are amazing games. But the confirmation of Aegislash really says a lot, because it was effectively a guarantee, right? The Sword and Shield Pokemon has to be in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and also, it's important enough to be inside of this Dynamax app, which only has a limited amount of Pokemon. So it says more than 50 types of Pokemon appear inside the app. However, new Pokemon will be added more and more. So that's going to be another thing to keep an eye out on. Like if you just kind of open up the app and it says updating one time, then you might want to take a few more pictures and then see if some other Galar Regional Dex Pokemon end up getting confirmed from this. Now this also shows us something really interesting about Pokemon Sword and Shield, because Aegislash is finally being revealed even though it's just 2 months until Pokemon Sword and Shield comes out. Also, we just got a new batch of Pokemon being revealed on top of the other new batch of Pokemon being revealed, because with the Pokemon camping, we got to see a lot of new Pokemon from the trailers that way, but now they're still showing us new Pokemon. So there's probably going to be over 600 Pokemon, if not at least over 500 in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and not all of those are going to be known before the games end up coming out. So even obvious Pokemon like Aegislash still taking their time to be revealed, and then who knows about the other Pokemon that are going to be inside the game. So all this crying, all this outrage, completely unjustified at this point, but it also means that we're going to see a lot more Pokemon than expected inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is really cool. So yeah, if you find out about Pokemon that you didn't know were in Pokemon Sword and Shield, or if you just ended up enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment down below what is your favorite Pokemon that has been revealed so far, and which Pokemon do you want most inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I could probably talk about Aegislash being in Pokemon Sword and Shield forever, especially with what we know about the existing Pokemon and how busted this thing is going to be, but we have a video to do, so let's get into it. Flygon is another Pokemon that has been recently spotlighted in a trailer that for Pokemon Worlds, when we got that competitive Pokemon trailer, people saw Flygon because it used that new move that like lowers the attack of all the opposing Pokemon, but it's been in there since the reveal of Pokemon Sword and Shield. However, it goes by pretty quick. Like, you know, we see some Pokemon. All right, Grubbin, Hoot confirmed. Oh wait, we got Braviary, we got and that's another thing, like Wailmer was already confirmed. So Dynamax Wailord, well, if I can pause it at this frame. So Dynamax Wailord was already a guarantee before we even knew what Dynamax was. Well played, Pokemon Company. Also Meowstic, so that means we got some prankster shenanigans coming into the game, but then Flygon has been in it the entire time. So when people are like, yo, Flygon's finally revealed, that's awesome. Flygon fans, he's been there the entire time. So that's another reason why I want to do this video, because there's a lot of Pokemon that, like much like Gardevoir, people are like, oh man, I hope they're in, but they're already in, and then they're getting Bring Back National Dex butt mad about Pokemon that are already confirmed. So just kind of informing people. Also, going back to Gardevoir really quick, I just want to show you guys that this is how it was confirmed through the max raid battles on the Pokemon website. And that's another weird thing, like, there's a lot of Pokemon that have been confirmed for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but they're either, like, in the background of a trailer, they pop up for just a few frames, they're on the Pokemon website, they're exclusively on the Japanese website, they've been tweeted out about, there's extra gameplay. This is probably going to reveal much more Pokemon. Also, in one of the newest Pokemon Sword and Shield trailers, we have Farfetch'd hitting Escavalier, because it was also talked about on the Pokemon website that there is a famous painting of Farfetch'd dueling Escavalier, or not Farfetch'd, but Sirfetch'd dueling Escavalier. But this also has like a really interesting side effect, because it confirms 3 other Pokemon, Carablast, Shelmet, and Excelgor. Now, Excelgor is a really fast Pokemon and has some cheese with that final Gambit, so I think that's actually going to work out pretty well, depending on other Pokemon that have been confirmed for Pokemon Sword and Shield, or what ends up being in the Dex. So the Dex cut probably benefiting these Pokemon really well, and that only means good things for competitive to see a little bit extra coming through like that. This was a really big trailer as well, because there was a lot of Pokemon that we could identify. Now, for some reason, I feel like Togekiss was briefly in a trailer, or maybe it was just Togetic that was in a trailer briefly, but Togekiss being confirmed, that makes me very happy, because we still have Scarflinch, or we could just do some super stally Paraflinch. Frostlass being confirmed as well, and Frostlass I hope really finds its footing. Maybe it gets a little bit of a buff, maybe it gets some usability, because it will be a very niche sweeper inside the games, but Garchomp hasn't been confirmed yet. So if Garchomp isn't even in the games, then that's going to make it really interesting, because what I loved about Generation 4 back in the day is, like, Frostlass, that is how you dealt with Garchomp. So if we're, like, kind of reducing things and dialing it back just a little bit, maybe Frostlass will find a good place, because it is a pretty fast, not as fast as it used to feel kind of Pokemon, but having the Ice Stab and the Ghost Stab, that's pretty nice. Milotic, people are big fans of Milotic, so this picture right here is just kind of like greatest hits of some people's favorite Pokemon, and that just kind of confirms it, which is really nice. Now, a funny thing that happened was that there was Ferrothorn inside of one of the trailers as well, and then people were making a lot of jokes like, oh, the National Dex cut is for balance, but then they put Ferrothorn into the games. Here's the thing, there's so much power creep inside of Pokemon, there's going to get a few that go through. You can't permanently delete a Pokemon. That's like why I don't understand Bring Back National Dex even more, that none of these Pokemon are being deleted. They're still going to be usable inside of Generation 8 because of Pokemon Home, so that's it. But yeah, Ferrothorn, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Ferrothorn inside of this format. But alongside of that, we also have Toxapex. Now, Toxapex was another really interesting decision for me from Game Freak, because Game Freak made one of the tankiest, most filthy Pokemon ever in one of the most recent generations, as though they didn't learn enough from Ferrothorn. And now they're both in the game. So this could be a very slower pace kind of metagame, depending on how much like Dynamax works. Like, I feel like Dynamax is going to benefit sweeper Pokemon more than tank Pokemon, but I feel like a lot of the very powerful sweepers might be just kind of removed from Pokemon Sword and Shield to kind of figure out balance. Or maybe there's going to be other buffs and changes and stuff that end up happening, but I would like to see a slowed down pace of the Pokemon Sword and Shield metagame. I love Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee because it isn't Rocket Tag. That without items and abilities and all of these overtuned like future generation Pokemon, it's really fun to play competitive in Pokemon Let's Go. So I actually want it to be a bit more tankier, a bit more stally. Also, that's just my playstyle, so anything that makes my playstyle more viable means I'm going to wreck kids in Pokemon Sword and Shield. But I just don't like it when it's just like you set up and then you do all these like crazy overtuned things. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this ends up playing out. Also, no Tapu Koko if depending on how many legendaries are cut. Like if Tapu Koko doesn't make it in, and if Garchomp doesn't make it in, Toxapex is now like the filthiest Pokemon ever. But also another thing about these Pokemon is that they can't be poisoned. That we have Toxapex with a poison, and we also have Ferrothorn with a steel. So that's also why they can like pretty much stall forever. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on those guys, and I think they are very important to note. So we just have like the waifu Pokemon, like Gardevoir getting confirmed, and people being happy about that, or the classics. Like everyone loves Flygon. Flygon doesn't get enough like respect inside the games, but it's still like one of the coolest Pokemon ever made. And then we still have the competitive watch list as it needs to be identified. Now this trailer, the one that happened at the beginning of September that gave us camping, in the background the Pokemon trailer, like the English Pokemon trailer, in the background the Japanese trailer, there's all kinds of Pokemon being revealed, such as Ditto. keep an eye out for Imposter Ditto. That's going to make the metagame pretty spicy. Now, I have it slowed down just a little bit, but this kind of gives you an idea as to Pokemon like, boom, we have Togedemaru. Boom, there's Ditto just kind of like moving around again. Now, personally, Slurpuff, one of my favorite Pokemon to use competitively. Slurpuff was already confirmed. I mean, we just get to see more hanging out in the background like that. Ghost type parade right here. So we have Chandelure being confirmed. Now, Duskull was confirmed in the second trailer that gave us the wild area, because we see with like the spooky area, we have Ghastly, we have Golurk, and we also have a Duskull floating around. I mean, that's pretty nice. Rotom made sense because of all the Rotom like technology going on, but Chandelure, that's another fan favorite Pokemon that's getting some love inside the games. Mawile confirmed. So Mawile also means like some other crazy stuff is going to happen, like Mega Mawile, absolute terror in Generation 6. I don't think it was ban worthy or anything like that, but it was still a very powerful Pokemon that you just kind of had to deal with when it showed up. But Mawile without the Mega Evolution kind of poses the question of, how is Dynamax going to give viability to Pokemon? Or now that Megas are kind of out of it, are they just going to kind of patch in a Pokemon's stats and maybe like buff it that way, instead of just being like, here's your buff? They're going to kind of do somewhere in between where it stays kind of viable, even though it's really the ability that, you know, having another huge power Pokemon, we got to see the dangers of putting that on an already like tanky, powerful Pokemon, and a 480 base stat Pokemon actually being like super scary when it showed up. So that's something interesting to think about. Sableye also being confirmed through the app. So Sableye, once again, I think it's usable because of Prankster, but it's definitely not going to be as devastating without the Mega. That what makes Sableye so broken is that's a very tanky Pokemon, and it did get nerfed in Generation 7 because of how like speed calculates through Mega Evolutions and stuff. So that was unfortunate, but you actually have like a Magic Bounce tank Pokemon that can do all kinds of nasty stuff. You know, the Calm Mind Will-O-Wisp means that your opponent isn't even going to be gaining much advantage on you physically or specially, and then you have Recover, and then you just get to ruin their day forever. So Mega Sableye was really fun to play with, but again, if we're like kind of dealing with a reduced power level, or there's some other items and tweaks and buffs, maybe like Megas are just gone forever, so we can permanently buff Sableye, we can permanently buff Manectric, we can permanently buff all of these other Pokemon. Manectric is shown in this trailer as well, so that Pokemon's confirmed. And then just kind of thinking about it, we have some cool stuff. So counterpart Pokemon also being confirmed, like version exclusives and stuff. We have Mawile in, we have Sableye in, we have Ninetales, we have Arcanine. All of those Pokemon are already confirmed as well. And then Mimikyu, we saw this one months ago with Alistair's reveal. So Alistair as Mimikyu makes a lot of sense because he hides behind a mask. So that's really cool. And then Mimikyu, already a kind of strong Pokemon. So I think there's going to be a lot of usable Pokemon. And then depending on the new Pokemon that are being introduced and all that other fun stuff, like we still have Gigantamax that does damage and then sets Stealth Rocks, but then we also have Gigantamax that removes everything and all kinds of other stuff. So it's really going to be interesting to see like how Dynamax plays in, if it makes every Pokemon kind of have that potential to Mega, and then kind of just balances out the viability. If there's still going to be a couple of oopsies from Game Freak with either too strong Generation 8 Pokemon, or not the right mix competitively with the Dynamax, or not with Dynamax, but with the Galarian Dex. Either way, right now we don't see Landorus, we don't see a lot of Legendaries. I wonder if that's going to be a trailer where it's like, get ready for some Legendary Pokemon, because they're going to have to be in at some point. I don't know if they're just going to make maybe Sinnoh kind of like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because we have seen that. But that also is a trend that we see inside of Pokemon games, that the first game in a generation doesn't really have legendaries, like with Pokemon X and Y. You could catch legendary birds, but there wasn't a legendary trio inside the games. Then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire made it to where we can catch all the legendaries. Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon made it to where we can catch all the legendaries. So that actually makes sense in Sinnoh. Like, that would be really cool. If Generation 4 remakes, like in the reverse world, that's where you can like find all the legendaries, kind of like the Ultra Warp Ride. Now, there's also going to be a lot of other things kind of like keep an eye on, like our Ultra Beast just going to kind of be retcon from Pokemon outside of anything Alola. How's that going to work? I'm not sure. But overall, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because we don't know the metagame like outside of Z moves and outside of Mega Evolutions for recent Pokemon stuff. What happens if Garchomp isn't playable, Tapu Koko, Landorus, all of these Pokemon just don't exist anymore? Then we still have like a lot of other kind of commonly threat Pokemon, Aegislash being back in. that now gets really scary, especially without Garchomp threatening it, because Aegislash, King Shield, you can deal with a lot of things, except for Earthquake. So this is going to make like other Pokemon kind of rise in viability to kind of deal with the Aegislash or some other Pokemon that end up popping up. And then what's going to be the same, like which Pokemon are also going to be in Pokemon Sword and Shield and Sinnoh remakes, and then also how unbalanced are the Sinnoh remakes going to be if they just have all of the legendary Pokemon poured in, or whatever third version, the enhanced version, is going to be following up Pokemon Sword and Shield. So this means a lot for the future of Pokemon, but I would be okay, like, if Pokemon Sword and Shield, we don't get another game for, like, 2 years, and then if Pokemon Sword and Shield is, like, just the perfect competitive game, and people can stick with it for longer than a year, I think that would be pretty ideal, pretty awesome. Pokemon Sword and Shield easily look to be the best Pokemon games that we've ever had so far. National Dex Cut only makes things better, and then when you actually look at the gameplay features, when you actually look at the Pokemon, when you look at everything we're dealing with, these are the best Pokemon games so far, and that is going to be some pretty awesome stuff. I just realized while scrolling down, Flygon is right there in the picture, but even like what we had with the most recent trailer, people, not most recent trailer, but with this trailer, when Flygon just kind of goes and slaps 2 people in the face, right here. Be like, yes, oh my god, Flygon's my favorite Pokemon confirmed. It's like, man, you should be trying harder to find your favorite Pokemon. It's just like a little bit of a scavenger hunt now, but there's still so many Pokemon confirmed. So which ones are your favorite that have been confirmed? Like I said, with all this, did you find out about any Pokemon in this video when I was talking about them? Did you go, oh man, I didn't know this Pokemon was confirmed? Now you're even more excited for the games. What do you think this is going to do for competitive Pokemon? I'm feeling very good about it. So far, Dynamax looks to be better from a competitive standpoint than Mega Evolution and Z moves. Like, this is going to be Mega Evolution, and that's going to be really cool. So I can't wait to see like how all of those interactions go. I think there's still going to be a lot of balance, and if power is taken from sweepers, we might be drifting into a more Verlisify kind of style metagame, and I'm going to be a big fan of that. You know, I feel like this is just kind of working out. The more Pokemon we see, the less fears of like, oh no, everything's being removed. We still don't know about some pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Salamence, I don't think has been shown in any way yet. Then we also don't have Garchomp, we don't have Metagross, and we don't have Dragonite. So that'd actually be pretty nice. You know, we have some of the pseudo-legends in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then the rest in like the next games or something. The only starter Pokemon we've seen are Charizard, and that means Charmander evolutionary line, because Leon, his signature Pokemon, is a Charizard. Boom, like that. So yeah, I'm wondering, like, I'm hoping that all the starters are in, because like that's how you would at least win some people back over with the whole Bring Back National Dex nonsense. I could understand like maybe if Generation 4 and 7 starters weren't in, and then those are going to be Sinnoh remakes. But I mean, we saw like in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, a lot of these starter Pokemon ended up squeaking into the game on top of the legendaries and on top of everything else. So I mean, there's still going to be a majority of the decks, you know, over 900 Pokemon, and that's looking to be like 600 in the decks or something. So that goes in lines, because in the interviews they said it's still not going to be a small feat to complete the National Dex in Galar. Like, the Kalos Regional Dex had over 400 Pokemon, so Galar looks to be a lot larger and kind of really taking it a lot more seriously, since they did make the choice to cut the National Dex. And I feel like so far what I've seen is like, I don't see any problems, except for not nerfing Intimidate and like a few other small things. But overall, I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling really good about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and my boy Aegislash is in. So get ready for some really crazy and fun competitive stuff when these games finally come out. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. And I didn't need to mention Eevee inside this video, right? Everyone already knows that Eevee and all of its evolutions are in Pokemon Sword and Shield because of the early September trailer, right? Just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because there's some people that are pretty oblivious to already confirmed Pokemon. Even then, Eevee was actually confirmed in the second trailer, because you can see it hanging out in the stands of the gym leaders. Just wanted to say that. All the evolutions are in. If everything else, you know, if we don't have like all this crazy overtuned stuff, that means evolutions are also more viable, so more justification for the Dex cut. Good? Good.